today. I have artist. Today is welcome to the jungle. First of all, since September 12th, avoid um, Jill Duggar, you know, you know, her new book came out, and I've been listening to it. And anyway, it's Counting the Cost, and it's her and her husband. And y'all, I get so tickled in the Word of God, and it's not funny. Okay, it's not funny, but sometimes I just laugh at like, okay, hold on, this is what I remember. Well, so she was talking about the way that they dress and everything. Hold on, let me get a little better situation. She was talking about the way that they dress, and just teach it. I just can only imagine having that many kids this. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. Okay, so we know too that let's just I mean God detests that. So yeah, all the to all the cross dressers and all of that. I hate to start out on that note. But it is what it is. So anyway, so far I'm just in the parts where she's talking about um just all the basic life principles, Bill Gothard. I had no idea that dude was not married, and I don't know. Anyway, but I'm um, I am in opposition to all of that. Okay, so anyway, also I just can't get off my mind that whole Ruby Frankie chick, and I know that her Frank, whatever her name is, Lord knows. And just her uh Ruby and Jody or something. Yeah, just sorry, y'all. I'm so informed. Just the whole notion that you would deprive your children of food, okay? And I'm gonna do a my friend segment where we talk about my friend and the things my friend is going through. So my friend, um, she went without food a good bit, growing up, and she taught her kids to look for other people that did not have food, at lunch and stuff like that. So, um, I'm just talking about my friend, so it's not like letting anyone know what your left hand or your right hand's doing. So, anyway, she did go without, so she understands. Anyway, but no, just the whole basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. And just that you would be like, oh, if you don't do this, like, you're not eating dinner. I mean, and I'm like, is the woman just lazy? Does she just want to be that like crafty or whatever? And then the other lady, I mean, she's just the counselor. She's an abuser, and that is a whole another topic. But I mean, counselors, and especially Christian counselors, and Mormonism is not a Christian because, again, it's adding away from God. But anyway, she like um really just admits me that everybody sits there and listens to her because they act like they're Christians, and then it's like, oh, all of this self reliance and self reliance and self reliance. I'm like, which is it? Like, where do you bring in God if you're supposedly a Christian here? But I know that they're not. So anyway, sorry to offend anyone, but that's just the truth. And while we're talking about truth, so today I was studying. Um, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so tired, dude. I was just in the Psalms once again, in Psalm 34, and I could really just like take the time, whole thing apart and show you guys all the Greek and Hebrew. Well, it would be Hebrew, but I'm not gonna do that. It's just gonna be kind of like what um, just what I really like found this morning today. I mean, today. But okay, so while we're on the subject there, I'm so thankful for how God, when you're seeking Him, He says to seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Speaking of things that people worry about, so which is mainly food, clothing, shelter. I mean, those type of necessities. Okay, and we're also coming from disciples and Jesus who had two sets of clothes, and Jesus was a nomad pretty much. I mean, going from town to town to tell people. Um, um, I mean, when it was his time, that he was the Word made flesh to dwell among us. But I'm just really thankful for how he uses his word in the day, even to prepare me for just life's happenings, and to prepare my friend. So Psalm 33 and then Psalm 34 really today. Um, and it's written by David, and he's pretending to be insane before Abimelech, and it causing the king to send him away. And I love that. David had a lot of wisdom, and a lot of things he did just really didn't make sense in this world's economy, but definitely in God's economy of obedience. And we definitely see where he disobeyed and got his bottom stank for that, and other people were affected too because of sin, and like taking unauthorized sentences, his sin with Bathsheba. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, okay? Now, if I were David and it says he's hot in the Word of God, Bathsheba is beautiful, it says he's ruddy and handsome and all that. And Bathsheba had been completely neglected by her husband, and that does not give you an excuse to sin, okay? You have to make a choice to take the way of escape. Um, and that way of escape for sexual immorality is to flee, flee, flee. And so, anyway, uh, but this world's all about gratification. And anyway, but I understand where she was coming from. Like her husband had nothing to do with her, and my friend knows what that's like. I'm sorry. Um, with her ex-husband. But yeah, so anyway, no. Uh so she was neglected by her husband, and you know, she's like up on a rooftop clickety click, she goes to bathe herself and get buck naked in a time where kings were off to war. David was not, and he would have been walking about the palace, and was walking around the palace. So what? Who better to get the attention of than David, the king? I mean, he's the commander of the armies, and of the we know that the Lord is the commander of the armies, the Lord's army. But David was, commander in chief, basically. So here he is, king, and her husband's under him, and he won't even come home when he's called to come home to go and sleep with her. And so, what better way to just trump him and be like, I'll go after the boss, and I'll go after that power. And as women, you have to be careful too, not to like wield your power as a woman, um, to cause others to sin. But she's up there bathing. He sees her. He calls and sends for her. Well, he doesn't go get her. I mean, he openly sends for her, and you don't see her protest at all. I mean, she could have said no, like Vashti, and gotten kicked out of the kingdom, basically, kicked to the curb. But so she goes willingly, but I understand that. I understand that where she. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I just track it, and I really don't need my husband to be yelling at me. say, because it's the thought that I've had. So, so the king's gonna send away. He's gonna act crazy, but going into that, first of all, I was just thinking today how much words hurt, and our words can be so powerful. We can wield our sword basically, and we can hurt others, or we can bless others. And I try really hard to encourage other people personally. But at the same time, I do believe in truth and going to speak to someone about a problem or just doing what's biblical. That's just following the word. And today, if you follow the word and truth, it's considered harassment and you might get sued for it just for being obedient. I mean, I'm talking to. So, we love to talk about, blessed are those who are persecuted. Yeah, we'll be blessed, but at the same time, that blessing doesn't necessarily show up. Okay, so it says, "I will praise the Lord at all times, and my mouth will continually praise Him." In a translation I memorized, it says, "I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will continually be on my lips." And y'all, that is really hard when life is really tough, And um, I remember when my daughter died. Just some people really want me to bury that, and I'm like, no. Like I held my child in my arms, and she died, and I will not return. I mean, she will not return to me, but I will return to her. And anyway, but I knelt down by her grave, and I lifted my hands, and I said to that Lord that I would extol Him at all times, and His praise would continually be on my lips, and that it would rejoice. And I didn't feel it, but I will boast in the Lord. Let the oppressed hear and rejoice. Magnify the Lord with me. Let's praise His name together. That's a good one for the music notes. Also, all of us. I'm just saying that's a, that's shout out music notes. I sought the Lord's help and He answered me, and He delivered me from all my fears. And here I am tapping on this, but He delivered me from all my fears. And we do not have because we do not ask so often. And we have to come and ask and just be honest with God. And I mean, He already knows our thoughts, like before we think them. And I mean, He made us, He knows how we're formed, He remembers us. And so we don't have a God that we can't approach boldly. We can approach Him with boldness and find grace and help in time of need. Sorry, y'all. Let me explain to you. I got cataract surgery and it's really messed up my eyes. So I have a hard time. Okay, so He answered me when, and I can just see it so many times in life where I'm like, why did it take me so long to why was it the last thing I did to seek out the Lord's help here? But I sought the Lord and He answered me, and He delivered me from all my fears. So there's a lot of scary things that we deal with. I mean, and it can be fears for today, worries for tomorrow, but I mean, there's a lot of fears, just about your kids, financial things, your relationship to your husband or wife, uh, your loved ones. I mean, you touch you touch me, you're touching the apple of God's eye. If you ever mess with a believer, you're touching the apple of God's eye. And again, I've already talked about that's the most important part of the eye. Um, but that was in another podcast. But my point is that um, if you go after what's the most important to me, you're touching the apple of my eye, the most important part of my eye. The one that my eye is going to quickly defend. And anyway, so He delivered me from all my fears, and you can just, fill in the blank with that, all of your fears. And sometimes the deliverance has to be over and over, and just spilling out your heart. Rise, cry out in the night. pour out your hearts like water in the presence of the Lord for the limitations. So I sought the Lord to help me, answer me, deliver me from all my fears. Verse 5. Those who look to him for help are happy, and their faces are not ashamed. And one thing I just want to talk about right here, when they're not ashamed, in Hebrew, it means they look to him and are radiant, and their faces are not ashamed. The third person plural subject, they here, is unidentified. There's no antecedent in the Hebrew text, so for this reason, some prefer to take the perfect verbal forms in the first line as imperatives. Look to him, be radiant. There is something about looking to him that not just glowing facial things do, but his word, just lifts our countenance instead of being like, it's lifts our countenance. But no, but really here, look to him and be radiant. Some medieval Hebrew um, and other ancient witnesses, like Philip, Syriac, and Jerome, support an imperatival, imperatival, sorry, reading, I don't know, the first verse. Well, anyway, I'm not, just to go on and on and on, don't let your faces be ashamed. It's probable that the verbal construction of the second line is rhetorical, expressing the conviction that action of you cannot or should not happen. So if you look to him, you should not be um, ashamed. Like your face should be radiant. And that's where I want to get into my friend topic here. So my friend um had went through a really ugly divorce, and I'm gonna spare you all the details of that. But went through a really ugly divorce, and she had to um really really learn the ins and outs of the court system, and also really contemplate like who are believers, like according to First Corinthians chapter 6, we're not to take another believer to court. I know that some of you wouldn't have jobs, but I also don't know sometimes how lawyers can be saved. I'm just saying. And I know family court stuff gets ugly too. But anyway, so she had to learn the ins and outs of this really quick, and um she was married to a malignant narcissist. And one of their biggest things is um as a narcissist is a need for power, control, admiration, and also for they want to control at all costs, but also in a way that like you could in a way that I mean it's life or death to them, and they play these little twisted games, and you almost just don't want to believe that about the person, but then and it takes a while for people to like really get it, this person might seem sane or whatever, but um they have such a need for control, their voice almost shakes if they don't have control, and they get out of control if they don't have control. Even like intimacy, false intimacy, um, to them is all they know. So you can't have a true intimate relationship with a person that's a malignant narcissist because um, you can't manufacture true intimacy. And when you're just a machine being fed on garbage, when it comes to false intimacy, it's just not there. And you can be free of that, but chances are they have the mindset of King Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, where it's like I am, and there's none besides me. So they're pretty much their own god, and they want to ruin you at all cost. And it doesn't matter if that ruins your kids or whatever. So I want to get back to about that those forget about the verb tenses, but just basically that one should not exist without the other. So if I'm gonna look to the Lord, then my face should be radiant, and I shouldn't. I mean, I should not be ashamed. So my friend went through a scenario yesterday, even, and um, So the ex-husband has gone and his wife that he met on Tinder or whatever. Um, I don't know anything about that site, so but I'm just telling you. So anyway, the um, the ex-husband goes covertly to talk about the um, my friend, and so anyway, um, so it's like he goes and he covertly talks and talks, and acts like she's crazy. And no, that's exactly how he wanted her to feel the entire time they were married. Just like Bathsheba, she had her needs, she felt neglected and rejected, and that's really hard sometimes for us. And a lot of times, when we feel rejected, I say we weren't rejected, we were protected. But sometimes, I mean, we really just are rejected, and but it's still protection. And I'm so on that note, let me just pause. Okay, so I'm so thankful, not for just rejection, but that I did not marry some of the people that I dated. Um, anyway, and so back to this. Well, so she had a situation with a minister's wife at a church, and her son was friends with the minister's wife, the minister's husband and wife's son. Well, long story short, it was this covert relationship where it was just only happening with the dad. But the minister and the minister's wife didn't know my friend, period. And so my friend, being the mom that she is to her kids, she's protective. My friend's like, hey, can I meet you? Like, whatever, because um, I just care about who my son or who my children are around. And she also didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Yeah, that one was really a good one. Yeah, she didn't just fall off the truck. But anyway, so she has a little bit of discernment. And so she's like, this is kind of odd, okay? So they're having secret play dates and they're meeting only with dad at dad's house. And I think that's weird. And especially being a minister. Um and in that position. And so you're just held to higher account. You're not held above people. You're just held to higher account. And so anyway, she's like reaches out to the wife and the wife is very rude and just kind of nonchalant, like, oh, you have COVID, thumbs up, I mean, just doesn't respond to anything. And so she wants to give her the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, she is busy, or another person had said like, "Oh, they're just not that bubbly," or whatever. When when my friend asked about, "Do you know them?" So anyway, um, again, those play dates just kept happening, and my friend was finally like, "Hey, I get it, and obviously, if you don't want to meet me or respond to a text, I mean, uh, I really don't want my son being around you or your husband," is how she was. And so I think that's fair. I don't understand the covert relationships, but and I don't think that's controlling either for, kids that are 10, 11, 12, whatever. So, uh, meanwhile, uh, the son tells her that, the friend that he has his mother told him that his mom was crazy and she that he would never go over to her house. And um there's been a lot of lies about the my friend and from her ex-husband, because again, that malignant narcissist that needs control, that you can't reason with with, you can't have a conversation with, you can't agree on anything, up, down, what color the sky is, what the seasons are. You can't agree with the person. They'll argue with you to death because they're right, and everything's about them. And so, anyway, um, she wasn't even making it about her. It's just the simple, like, hey, my kid's hanging out with you. I don't know you, So that whole principle, I don't know what your thoughts would be. So anyway, let me move on. And so, but for her to say to her son, she's crazy and all this, it doesn't matter if that came from the ex husband or not. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, but it's like for us just to categorize people that we don't even know. Um, the same person, my friend had contacted her when there was an issue with her son to help her. And so she would know what's going on. And she was all ears for that. But other than that, that they had never met, total strangers. And she gets to just call her crazy and go over to the my friend's ex husband's house and talk about her, and I'm like, wow. And she's a minister's wife, and then so she contacts the husband too because he's in a role with the son on football, and just to say, hey, I did touch base with your wife, and I mean, I'm like, she had no plans on contacting her wife, the wife, ever again. And all he does is deny anything and then say, "Don't contact my wife." And none of it was threatening. It's just like, "Hey, here's the issue. I think it's kind of odd, and I just want to be able to meet y'all." It wasn't a really big deal. And so she just says that she's crazy. My friend's just crazy, and I'm like, wow. Well, if you're crazy, we're all any of us that really want to follow what's true are really crazy, and obviously you don't. And if birds of a feather flock together, then that says a lot for the other person. And so it's like, that really spoke to me because I'm like, and that's something I share too. Is it's the devil wants to pigeonhole you, wants you to feel like you are crazy in a world where, I mean, it's gone crazy. And like before there was Jerry Springer, there was my family, I mean, and before that, I mean, all you gotta do is look in Genesis and you'll see the dysfunction like abound. I mean, I love Genesis. I need that. And so I'm like, wow, maybe they're actually crazy, but that's okay. And no, but our words do matter and they do hurt, but yet we have to it's what we do with that thing. Do we go to the Lord and say, God, this really stung. This really is unfair. It's not true. Why am I having to wear a scarlet letter, because of lies and stuff like that? And it's not that you're not going to hurt and grapple with it. It's just that you have to do that, and it's as you look to Him, your face is radiant, like you'll never be put to shame. You won't be ashamed, and so that is a continual just coming to the Lord, just having to like continually cry out to him. And when you have negative thoughts even of like what people have said that don't even know you, that their opinion of you really doesn't matter, but yet at the same time, we do want to not have a horrible reputation either, because it affects our family and our loved ones, and that's not really fair to them either. And so I just really hope for this person that she that maybe they're not in that role or whatever, but that she doesn't get treated like that. And so, anyway, um, back to that. So, um, I think I went on. Yeah, I did. So it's not that you're. It's just not that you won't have that problem. I want to. I want to be like, yeah, I'm about to go. Okay, so um, and then this the oppressed man or woman cried out, and the Lord heard. He saved him from all his troubles. The Lord's angel I'm about to say camps around the Lord's loyal followers and delivers them. And I'm reading out of the NET right now. One of the things too is that there's a difference between someone who professes Christ and someone who fears the Lord. And the fear of the Lord is what keeps us from sin. And so, again, to fear the Lord is not just a reverence and an awe. It is a reverence and an awe, but it's also a sheer terror. And if you've ever been sifted like wheat, you know what that sheer terror is like. But the Lord delivers them. So the Lord, He uh, delivers them. And this is one thing next. So, and this is also like I think in First Peter, but taste and see that the Lord is good. And I think that so many people they have not truly tasted. It's like, okay, I was in a crisis. I prayed a prayer. I did a Bible study for a minute, but I feel like I'm kind of the seed on the rocky soil. And I think that that's like indicative of a lot of people that just go to church, check it off the list. They have not truly tasted and seen that the Lord is good. Because, and the reason I say that is that, like, if you truly have, like, you know what you're missing when you're like the dog returning to its vomit. That's a fool repeating their folly. I mean, if you've never seen a dog, like we had a dog named Benji, and the dog would eat the grass, throw it up, and then eat the puke. And I would just be like, why again do people talk about dogs' mouths are cleaner than humans? I'm sorry. No thanks. Like I'll be getting something to throw that ball for the dog, but I am not about to be touching that slobber. So anyway, back to what I was saying, like when you don't know what you're missing because you're missing because you've never been filled with that. You never tasted, you never sought after him to where he's really been your everything and your portion and your joy and your delight, your reason for living and getting up in the morning. And I'm not saying you don't go through slump, times where you're just like, but if you have, then you'll know what you're missing, and even if you are gonna return to your vomit, you need to return back to His Word. Like just pick it back up, and um, so taste and see that the Lord is good, and how blessed is the one who takes shelter in Him. Remain loyal to the Lord, you chosen people of His, for His loyal followers lack nothing. And well, I won't start to dissect it all, but even young lions, sometimes like food and are hungry. Those who seek the Lord like no good thing. I'm sure. Um, one thing I know personally is like when I have more material possessions that I know what to do with, I seem to be more lacking with the Lord, and it's the times where I really didn't know how I was going to make it to the next check, that I truly relied on the Lord and saw His absolute provision for everything that I needed, and literally it makes me want to cry, just how good He's been to me. I think I'm too tired to cry right now. Um, but I'm about to have to go get my son up and ready for school. Um, he is a mess. He needs to come on, but he's so precious, and I'm so thankful for him. He just keeps me on my toes, and he's so much like me that I just like am always like, okay, here I am getting on to you for the same thing I do. But anyway, that's my Blair. That's what I call him, Blair. And my husband, he's the one that he's military, so he gets up the second that alarm goes off. He's probably already balancing the budget right now. Be getting in trouble in a minute. Um, but anyway, I just want to encourage whoever might be like my friend that don't worry about the person that doesn't know you that's going off and gossip, who's calling you crazy. And I'm just preaching that to myself too. I'm not a preacher, it's me. I'm telling myself that too. Just it's so easy to let other people define you and not let the Lord define you. And you know what? No one, no one has the permission to define you but the Lord. It's Him who gets to say who you are not. And it's your job to seek that out to know, you know, and then to sort out and just ask God to remove, um, those awful, ugly comments. And when you know that people are backbiting and they're gossiping and they're spreading all kinds of false things about you, that the Lord will handle them. He will, just like He'll handle you and I, if we do the same thing. So let's just not participate in that, okay? And it's just really sad for how it affects you and then how it affects even your child when the kid comes to school. Like my mom says, your mom's crazy and you're not ever, I'm not ever going over to her house or whatever. I mean, don't judge. I will judge some books by their cover. I'm talking about books and all of that. But you really shouldn't judge people in the way that I'm talking about to enough to call them crazy and all of that. You shouldn't do that to about people that you've never met. Like form your own opinion and don't go off the opinions of others. Hope you have a good day. I plan on keeping my podcast going, but I couldn't find my flat iron. I found it anyway. I hope you have a blessed day.